Hello, this is Lower. A little while ago, I asked if anyone was interested in a track breakdown, and I asked you to sort of have a little vote which track you wanted me to do, and this one came up, and it was the most popular. So, Get Moving, VIP, which came out a couple of weeks ago now on Galaxy Records. Some of you may know the original, some may not. If not, I'll basically go through the entire track. So there are some parts from the original one still in there. I'll start with the melodies and everything like that. So I'm a big fan of Rhodes, and I used one on the intro on this, and it's all in MIDI. There you go. For this I use Keyscape, which is an amazing plugin. They basically recorded all of these old pianos, Rhodes, collectible ones, everything like this, all vintage keys and everything, and they're really well recorded, so I find them amazing to use, to be honest. Couldn't recommend it enough. So that's that part. It's also backed up by some like other Rhodes, just some chords with lots of sustain. There's another part from Keyscape as well, which is, I believe, a key bass or something like that. Oh, piano bass. Here you go. It's like a monophonic synth. Just providing a bit of arpeggiator. There is a sample in here. It's backing up. Here we go. It's basically looped, just to provide like a bit of a backdrop for everything. I've got the vocal as well, which is, I can't remember where I found it, to be honest. It was just like a random pack somewhere. It said break time. This is the original sound here. So, oh, that's the Get Moving one, my bad. The rest of the sounds in here are just like little samples and things, just to keep it interesting, really. Provide a bit of atmosphere as well, some reverse. So altogether that section sounds like this. I'm sure you know already. I haven't really got too much on the group, just a filter and volume automation. What I tend to do is before the drop, I will usually, let's see if I did it in this one. Yeah, I've got the volume slightly down. Depending on how full the intro is, I'll do that so when the drop hits, it feels like it's louder. It does get covered up in mastering, because obviously everything gets compressed, but I find that it helps personally. Some may argue with that, but for me it works quite well. So that's that section. For the bass, this is where really the VIP changed a lot from the original. So the original was basically just like an 808 and then some wobbles as well. With this one, there's a lot more mids and crazy sounds. And to be honest, if you listen to it on its own, it sounds a bit crazy because of the sidechain. There's a lot of like sidechaining going on. But when you play those sounds with the drums, it kind of, you don't really notice it so much. I think your ear kind of fills in the gaps. These sounds were all done in Serum as well. I've got the basic patch here. Let me load it up. If I was to turn all of these off, actually you don't need that. Oh boy, bit of a big project, so it's a bit slow. If I turn all of these off here, that's the original sound for the, which is a bit weird. But then after that, I added some, like everything below 115 to be mono. Didn't change the sound too much, but I put a filter after that, which is changing the sound quite drastically. Then some quite heavy EQ by the looks of it, taking out some of the muddy section there. And then this part here, this is basically it splits the signal, so everything above 120 hertz gets this treatment, which is an OTT, and then some saturation and some reverb on the top end of the bass. So that's what it sounds like there. And then on the low end, it's basically just making sure the signal is mono. I use that signal splitting quite a lot actually. It's really useful. I've never encountered too many phasing issues from it, so I do it quite a lot. And then after that, I rendered it into audio, which is what you see here. Because I found that there were a lot of tails and reverb tails and stuff, and it got quite messy, so I just rendered everything out so I could see absolutely everything. Because I know you're supposed to use your ears, right? But for me as well, it works if I can use my eyes, because I can line things up properly, as well as use my ears as well. There you go. Bit of a click there. Whoops. It looks like I've layered oh actually no, this is, so that sound there, and then I've further processed it, but I've muted the old one. So I've added some EQ, an isotope ozone, I'm guessing that's a saturator. Yep, saturation, more reverb, and another final EQ. Lots of EQs going on here. So that creates quite a punchy mid sound, which is kind of nice. For the downbeat of the drop, there's an 808, I believe, but like quite a fuzzy 808. What I tend to do a lot with subs, and I can hear it here, is for all you Ableton users, I'll add an erosion, which basically gives you that fizzy kind of sound you hear. It adds like a layer of white noise. And if you add distortion or saturation to that, it then like melds it together and it makes it sound really fat. As long as you don't overcook it, it's pretty good and a good technique to use. I use it all the time. The 808 is created by a free plugin I have called DB808, which should be still available. It's really good. It's just basically an 808 bass sound generator, and you can change things like the accent, the decay, all these sorts of things, tone. But I find if you just roll it off and then add erosions and warmers and things, saturators, it makes it sound quite nice. What have we got here? Yeah, so there, I believe, yeah. I actually made it wobble very slightly by using an auto pan and setting it to, setting the phase to 0 here, which basically makes it a volume alternator, like an LFO. And then you can alternate the amount, so have it turn on and off, and have the bass wobble in this instant, which I do semi-regularly as well. There's another mid sound here, which is quite a weird sound, but I settled on it. That was created with a couple of instances of Serum and a sample as well, by the looks of it. Let's see what we got in here. So one Serum. Ooh, crunchy. So like a sub there, basically. The other Serum is the white noise. I could have done that in one, but apparently I chose to use 2 Serums in that instance. And this is a respace, which is providing most of the craziness. So altogether. And as always, because my CPU and because I find it easier to work in audio, I rendered that down to create this sound here, or this clip here. And then I've added something over the top, which is probably, yeah, I think it's a duplicate of that sound. So I've duplicated the channel, and then I've done some extra processing. So I've added another, what was it called? I can't remember what it was called. Redux? No, erosion. There we go. With the hiss, which is, I'll show you it without. So that's with. This would be without. And as you can see, it's all right, but I prefer it with the hiss because it stands out in the mix a lot more. And then after there, I've got an ozone, which is giving it more saturation, exciting it. Some EQs, Serum effects there as well, the flanger and the more distortion, and the trash as well. Man, I was going crazy on this sound. Lots of different styles of distortion, and then a final EQ, I guess, just to take out some of the nasty peaks. And that's just a layer which increases towards the end of the sound as well, like that. They're all the bass sounds, basically. After that, it was just arranging them. It sounds so weird on its own, but once you put it in context, it's pretty good. It's got a bit of groove. I've gone to the drums actually. So the drums remained fairly similar to the original. All I did was tighten up some of the sounds. I think I may have replaced the snare possibly, or given it another layer. So, woo! So this is the kick and snare. It's quite harsh, but it still kind of works quite well in the mix. I've used Carver, which is basically like a transient shaper, which I got. That's available on Max for Live, but it's frozen at the moment because of my CPU. It's quite intensive. So this is more snare layers. So that's the snare layer that I layered. That wasn't in the original. So this is the original here, which is I've put the Carver on, sorry, and then layered that over the top. This black channel here, this is basically my MIDI trigger, which triggers the sidechain on for whatever channel I want to use it on. My kicks, relatively simple. I think there's 2 layers. I normally only have one, if I'm honest, but in this case, I felt like probably it didn't have enough click, so I added this click from this kick to make one. And there's also the break as well. Woo! That is a messy break. So that break runs all the way through. I've done some various different edits. Each section's in a different colour there, you can see. I've got ride as well, which runs through it. and then hi-hats, which gel everything together, along with a nice shaker. I love this shaker, it's so crunchy and nice. More little bits and bobs, but they're quite similar to the original ones, to be honest. On my drum bus, what I have is a full parallel glue compressor. I just find that glue compression just, literally does what it says. It glues everything together. I've got a camel crusher, but I only have the tube setting on, so I've just given it a bit of tube. Just for a bit of warmth, really, basically. We're just trying to warm it up. Some EQ, taking out some of the nasty peaks there. Some serum distortion. And a filter, which basically, for the breakdowns and everything. I think there may have been a fill somewhere. No, not in this one. Cool. So that's the first section. This section here is really just backing up the music in the other channel, so I just did some 808. Here we go. Just some 808 notes on the root note, just to keep it flowing along. Using the pan to wobble it. Yep. And the breakdowns, I don't think there's anything too special going on in the breakdowns. Yeah, it's relatively similar to the last one. Effects are quite straightforward, just a few little bits and bobs really knocking around. Like a whisper sound there. Some reverses. Yeah. So this has been Lower. This has been a track breakdown of Get Moving VIP, out now.